Hi everyone, it's Molly from Bump Birth and Beyond, and today we're doing a pregnancy bodyweight workout. We're going to start with our warm-up, coming into a squat position, so taking your feet roughly hip width apart, maybe slightly wider to make a bit more space for baby. We're going to be coming down into the squat and then bringing the body back up to standing, squeezing through the core, and if you want to take it up into your calf raises, please do. If that feels a little bit too strong today, you could just focus on the squat part of the movement. So when you're ready, we're going to go for 60 seconds, focusing on the breath, connecting to the breath. Inhale, making sure we're breathing, connecting through the core, squeezing through the quads, the glutes, finding that space in the pelvis as we sink those hips down. Keep breathing. You can take it a little bit faster if you like, as long as you can keep that control at the top and the bottom part of the movement. Nearly there now. Feeling nice and warm. Keep breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Squeeze the core. There we go, last time. And then just give the wrists a roll, the ankles, finding any stretch you might want to take through the arms. Now coming into the main part of the workout, we have 4 different exercises today, and we're going to be working within a rep range of 8 to 12. So listen to your body, tune into what you feel like you can do today. We're going to start with our wall press-ups. So coming towards the wall, bringing the hands roughly shoulder width apart, maybe slightly wider. And then with your feet, you can lean in towards the wall a little bit here, making sure that the hands are roughly shoulder height, not too high, not too low. From here, take a deep breath in, and then just press down towards the wall, get those elbows out at the sides and back. 1. Keep that control, squeeze through the core. 2. 3. 4, use the core there to draw the body back up. 5, 6, 7, again choose how many reps you are going to do today, working between 8 and 12. That's 9, 10, see if you can find a little bit more depth here. 11, last one if you're going for 12. And then nice and slowly releasing from the wall, you can roll through the wrist there again. And then coming into our squats, again working within that 8 to 12 rep range. Feeling that connection to the core again, just like we did in our warm-up. If you want to, you could take the feet slightly wider this time and bring it into slightly more of a sumo squat. A little bit more hinge of the hips is going to give the glutes and the adductors a little bit more activation there as well. So just tuning into the body, choosing what feels best for you today. Again, when you're ready, taking a deep breath in, exhale. 1. That's 2. 3. 4. 5. Squeeze the core, get that stretch through the glutes. 8. 9. 10. 11, last one if we're going all the way, and 12. Now coming into our side lying leg lift, we're going to bring the forearm onto the ground, stacking the heels on top of each other. You can use the supporting hand on the mat or at the top here. Again, squeeze through the core, make sure that the pelvis is stacked, knees are stacked, ankles are stacked. Again, working between 8 and 12 here, focusing on that control as we lift that top leg, squeeze the glutes, activate the quads, and slowly down. 1. Being mindful not to take it too high out of that range of movement. 2. Getting that nice stretch and squeeze. 3. That's 4. 5, 6, 7, keep squeezing the core, 8, 9, keep that control, 10, last 2 if we're going all the way, 11 and 12, lovely, swapping sides. Again, find that balance, feel that support with that arm underneath and this hand up the top. Checking your position, everything's squared, stacked on top of each other when you're ready. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get that squeeze in the glutes. 5, 6, 7. Keep that connection to the core. 8, 9, 10. Last 2 if we're going all the way. 11 and 12. And then coming into our final exercise on all fours, finding a comfortable way to get there. Keep the gaze between the hands, connect through the core. As we do, we're going to take one of the back legs out behind us and reaching the opposite arm, take the gaze up. As we exhale, elbow to knee, squeeze just as far as we can. That's 1, 2, get that tightening through the core, that lovely stretch. 3, being mindful how it feels on the abdominals there, don't overextend the abdominals. Lovely, that's 5, keep breathing. 6, 7, 8, 9, if it feels good, get that extra extension. 10, 11, last one, and 12, releasing that hand and that knee. Just give the hips a little wiggle there if you want to, and then we're going to swap sides. Again, connecting to the core, taking that leg out behind you, stretching with the opposite arm. That's 1, and 2. Use the hand to keep you balanced, and 3. Feel that connection to the core. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, nearly there, 9, 10, 11, last one, and 12, lovely. Bring that hand down onto the ground and the knees, take the hips from side to side. You can close the eyes here, just stretching through the glutes for a moment. We're going to take a little bit of time to rest and then repeat. So take the knees towards the edges of the mat. Just going to bring a few of those lovely pelvic circles in. Concentrate on your breathing here, changing that direction. It's important to take that rest time during our yoga practice, and especially during any workouts we do when we are pregnant. If you like to, you can sink the glutes back towards the heels, coming to really rest in that extended child's pose. But if that movement feels good, you can keep it going. We've got about another 20 seconds here. Keep breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. And then finding some stillness back in that tabletop position. Tucking the toes, you're just going to come up to that downward facing dog. Paddle out those heels, feet slightly wider than hip width. Keeping that space for baby. And then nice and slowly keep a bend in the knees. We're going to walk the hands and the feet towards each other. Chin to chest. And then nice and slowly rolling the body up to standing. Head and shoulders being the last to come up. So coming back to the wall for your second round of wall press-ups, again taking that comfortable position with the hands probably just slightly wider than shoulder width and shoulder height. Squeezing through the core when you're ready. 1, 2, 3. Get that nice stretch through the back. 4, and press. 5. See if you can get any deeper comfortably. 6, squeezing the core. That's 7, 8, 9. Again, just going however many feels comfortable for you. 10, 11. One more if you're going all the way. And 12. Lovely. Well done. Again, give the wrists a roll, ankles a roll. And we're going to come back into those squats. So again, choosing whichever stance you wanted, maybe that slightly more sumo squat or bringing the feet slightly closer together when you're ready. Taking a deep breath in. 1. That's 2. 3. Use the core. Squeeze the glutes at the bottom here. 4. 5. Drive to standing. 6. 7. 8. 9. 10. Last 2. 11. And 12. Lovely. Now coming back into the side lying leg lifts. When you're ready, core is braced, hips are stacked, knees are stacked, ankles are stacked. Inhale, lift, squeezing, gather the core muscles. Ready. 1. Using the glutes at the top here. 2. 3. Keep breathing. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8, 9, 10, last 2, 11, and 12, swapping sides. And finding that comfortable position, engaging the core. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And then finally coming back into that tabletop position. Gaze between the hands. Maybe just take the hips from side to side for a moment. Finding that neutral spine, connecting back through the core. Inhale. We've got 1, 2, squeeze the core, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, last one, and 12. Lovely, placing that hand and the knee back down. Again, releasing the glutes, just wiggling the hips from side to side. You can close your eyes there for a moment. And then finding some stillness. Last time on the opposite side. Inhale, squeezing through the core. Reach, we've got 1. And 2, 3, 4, get that tightening. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, last 2, 11, and 12. Lovely. Bring that hand down, that knee back down. Knees to the edges of the mat, big toes together. I'm just going to start to draw those pelvic circles again. Releasing through the shoulders, chin to chest. all the way down to the glutes, into the hips. Keeping the pelvis nice and mobile. Keep breathing. And then drawing the glutes all the way back towards the heels. Forehead on the ground if that's comfortable for you. Just being mindful of any kind of heartburn or reflux. If you want to keep the head stacked slightly higher than the heart, either on your forearms or a bolster, a blanket. Just tuning into the breath here. Getting that nice deep stretch through the legs, the groin. Stretching the core. If your forearms are out, you can walk the fingertips even further away from the body. I'm tuning into the breath here, breathing in through the nose and out through the nose.